Hello, good day and welcome to this session on efficient implementation of industrial, social and environmental objectives or horizontal policies in procurement. By the end of this session, you should be able to define sustainable procurement as well as identify some factors to consider when undertaking sustainable procurement. And finally, how procurement positively assists some areas in social, economic and environmental development. To begin with, what is sustainable procurement? Sustainable procurement basically refers to conducting of public procurement activities while considering the impact of such activities on the triple bottom line, that is the environment, society, and the economy. So procurement has to be undertaken by considering social aspects. How will the process or the outcome of procurement affect the environment, whether positively or negatively? How will the procurement activity or the procurement outcome affect the economy? That is the economic aspect of sustainable development. And finally, how will the procurement proceeding or the procurement outcome impact society? That is the social aspect of sustainable procurement. So it deviates from the normal procurement, which just conducts public procurement activities without consideration to any of these three factors, but only economic considerations. So it is unlike the traditional method of procurement, where whole life cost is considered, the associated risk is considered, measures of success as well as implications for society and environment are all considered when procurement is being undertaken in the public sector. In conducting sustainable procurement, there are certain factors that have to be conducted or considered in the public sector. One of them includes value for money considerations such as price, quality, availability, and functionality. The ability of the public procurement outcome to be cost effective, to be fit for purpose, as well as to be available to public consumption, and finally, to be able to perform to meet the needs of the public. These are some of the tenets of value for money considerations. Then, secondly, the entire life cycle of products. When conducting public procurement, you have to consider, or when conducting public procurement to acquire goods, works, and services, you have to consider the product's life cycle perspective, such that goods, when acquired, do not, you have to consider how they are used as well as how they are managed after their end of life or their useful life. So you don't consider only the acquisition of goods, works, and services, but you also consider the nature of goods you are buying, how their end of life processes are conducted. Whether so, for instance, if you are purchasing products like that have plastic packaging, you have to consider whether the plastic packaging is biodegradable or not. Because as we all know today, plastic waste has been a menace in the society and causing harm to environment as well as polluting the ocean. So you have to consider whether the plastic packaging that is used for the product is non biodegradable or is biodegradable, so that after the products have been used they can degrade in the environment without choking gases or being polluted in the ocean. Then thirdly, you have to consider the environmental aspect. Are the products harmful to the environment? Will the product, when littered in the environment, will it cause harm in the soil which it's being left on? And then will it also affect the ecology? These are some of the factors that you have to consider. And then the social aspect, that is the human aspect. Will it harm the people that are going to use it? Will it be beneficial to the people that are going to use it? Will it help in eradicating poverty as well as inequality? And will the public procurement process promote human rights as well as ensure protection of labor rights? Then finally, or we have sustainable or recycled materials or products. The principle of sustainability ensures that products are not used once and done, but products should be able to produce value even after they have been used by customers. So public procurement proceedings have to consider all these factors in acquiring goods, works, and services. Procurement as a mechanism to further economic, social, and environmental development. So sustainable procurement should incorporate a number of safeguards and checks in the procurement process to positively assist in the following areas. One of them being human rights, labor rights, environmental impact, empowering women, poverty eradication, and governance. They are subsequently discussed in the following sections. So when you take human rights, procurement contribution to human rights is such that it should be linked to corporate risk and reputation management, such that the procurement function must include processes that are designed to identify companies who showcase their responsibility to uphold universal human rights towards their own employees as well as the communities in which they operate. So procurement proceedings should not seek to affect the rights of people or should not seek to harm people in the society as well as people in the organization with whom we work. In terms of labor rights, procurement role is to ensure that workers' rights are protected. Procurement, in addition to recognizing the protection of their own workers' rights, they have to ensure that the suppliers that they use are also utilizing people who are not violated in terms of their rights to work and their right working age. So procurement officers should be aware of potential suppliers' performance in terms of freedom of association and the right to collective bargaining. Child labor. You shouldn't use a supplier who utilizes child labor. So procurement has to ensure that they conduct due diligence and visit the sites of their supplier so as to ascertain whether the supplier is adopting child labor in their processes. Then the supplier should avoid non-discrimination, or they should avoid discrimination, or they should not use bonded or forced labor where the people are working because they have no option than to work, given that their documents have been seized and they are being left to work till the supplier has realized their own goals. And they have to ensure that the suppliers are achieving decent working conditions for their employees. Then you move on to adverse environmental impact. So procurement has to ensure that they promote sustainable production and consumption patterns where there is little or no emissions into the atmosphere of harmful gases and substances. Procurement is in the unique position to help influence industry by encouraging it to develop and adopt policies that support a precautionary approach to environmental challenges, as well as policies and practices that are cleaner and safer. Then procurement has to make efficient use of resources as well as make adequate management of chemicals, incorporate environmental costs and reduce pollution and risks for humans and the environment in general. So in essence, procurement activities have to ensure that the environment is protected without emitting or exposing society or the actual environment to harmful chemicals and gases. Then there is gender and empowerment of women. So, adopting practices that promote the contracting on of major businesses, particularly those owned by women. So, procurement's role is to conduct procurement by adopting practices which promote the contracting of women or minority businesses, especially those owned by women. It is a straightforward and simple approach to use by evaluating preference that favors minority businesses by a certain percentage. And this is a typical example of the means of promoting horizontal policies. Then we move on to poverty eradication, such that in public procurement systems, you have to ensure that you source from suppliers who are in disadvantaged countries. This is typical in international trade, where public procurement processes in disadvantaged countries should ensure that it is leading to job creation opportunities, it is leading to income in that country, it is enhancing capacity in spend categories of those disadvantaged suppliers in those countries, and it is advancing in economic opportunities within communities in which the suppliers exist, and finally contributing towards economic development. Then finally, we move on to governance. Procurement in the public sector should ensure the promotion of good governance in every society. This is because procurement is an integral component of a government's capacity to provide required goods, works, and services. So a government is said to be performing when the people in the country are satisfied with the utilities being provided by the government, and procurement is key in achieving some of these goals. So procurement's contribution to good governance cannot be overlooked given the high spend of procurement in many public procurement systems. So in summary, you have learned about sustainable procurement, some factors to consider when undertaking sustainable procurement, as well as how procurement positively assists some areas in social, economic, and environmental development. Thank you.